Hi, New York City Charter Schools. This is Tracy Davey with a live webinar being recorded for our YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about student digital resources. This is a new collection for the 21-22 school year. Though the state education department, I believe, sent out some surveys during the mass COVID closures of schools last year to collect information about students. The state is certainly very concerned in ensuring that students had equal access to their education during that trying time. And this concern is moving forward too, of course. I'm going to show you over the next few slides information from just a few paragraphs in the SIRS manual on page 70. And actually, I think this, yep, I'm sending to the current viewers of this live show a link to all of the resources that I'll be showing during this webinar, including our website. So here is on page 70 of the SIRS manual. The state is interested in collecting information from all public schools and BOCES. BOCES do have schools ourselves, and that's information about students' access to devices and their access to broadband in their places of residence. This has been a question on the institutional master file that has to be completed every year. It's frequently called Beds Online. And I believe that these two questions, 8B and 8D, will go away after this year. So blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff in the SIRS manual, but I'm going to rip out the most important stuff for you here now. Resources and funding. During COVID, money was put aside to help everyone, like the PEBT funds, and make sure that families had the supports that they needed. And that includes resources and funding for getting schools to have devices for one-on-one, use maybe, or close to that, sharing it within a family, whatnot. Anyway, they need this data so they can determine where the money is needed and to get it there. Again, this is a single sentence in the page 70 of the SIRS manual. Again, using we have a template, level 0 has a template for every collection, and the state expects one record for every student in grades K through 12, including elementary and secondaries right there on the list. I know that at some schools they're having high school students fill out the forms themselves, but for the most part, these surveys are either going home to parents on paper or possibly electronically through a parent portal and a student management system. So I have an image of, let's imagine some siblings in a house. The state actually expects a response for each sibling's access to a device. They may be sharing a device. Do you have Wi-Fi and whatnot? They really want that level of data. The state has also expressed to us as RICs, although I didn't see it in the SIRS manual specifically, that if a child has shared custody and has, parent 1, parent 2, or, guardians, the state wants the data to be loaded, to SIRS for them to review for the household with the least amount of services, because they need to know the worst case scenario and they want to address it wherever they can. Another sentence on that page I want to kind of rip apart for you is that they do expect update information. They want the data each fall, but of course this is a new collection, so we're going to do it at our earliest convenience, but they do expect the information to be updated. All right, so for an example, if a student's at your school and did not have access to Wi-Fi early in the year, but then did later, they want you to submit additional information. I suggest that you think about how at your school you could plan to do that. Also, the state says that when a student is enrolled at a new location, the second school, a new record should be reported. Maybe consider at your school when a parent is enrolling their student that especially now during the middle of the school year, you give them an access form at that moment. So you know what it is and you can add that additional information. It very well could be different between buildings if they had a device and a hotspot or whatnot from the previous school, but your school is not providing it right away, or maybe it's vice versa. They didn't have it before and now they do. We want to make sure that the state knows which families and where need that kind of support. I can tell you at the RIC level, I've heard conversations and concerns about Well, we're not going to tell the Wi-Fi providers, where the problems are. We're not giving them that kind of data. I think at one point, the Wi-Fi providers thought they would just find out exactly where it needs to be. I mean, they could probably look at a map and know where their lines don't cover. I don't know. But anyway, although we need to and want to protect student personally identifiable information, PII, the student data management, in the student information repository system, SIRS, and our data warehouse is level 0, level 1, which is equivalent to ATS and CSIS and the stuff that you do at New York City. Getting it up to state ed at level 2, all of those are very safe, I can assure you of that. But this data needs to be at the student level. So if you're thinking about sending out surveys to your families, make sure that you're considering you'll need a name on the survey, and you're going to need to reference it back to the student. Is it called the OSIS number? It's the NISIS number, I think, the New York State Student Identification System, NISIS. So, and I think that's different than the city's OSIS number. I heard a story of a school who surveyed their whole school community parents with an anonymous survey. And I know some parents are refusing to give the information because they don't want to. They feel like that it's invasive. But that school had to repeat the survey because they needed to bring it down to the school level. It worked for last year's information when the state asked for it in a hurry, but it didn't work for this year. So resources, I know that the Department of Education and their C-Weekly had provided some announcements earlier this fall regarding a survey. I think it was something like a backpack survey you could send home to kiddos. And they were managing, I believe, the whole thing, scanning it and collecting that information for you, which would then also get it to the data warehouse at the state level. Eastern Suffolk BOCES does not have a method. Our job is helping you guys get the data to the state. So I don't have anything to help you specifically with surveying your parents, but we can help you to get the data that you collect to the state education department. And let's look at those resources. One of them is a blank template on our website. And we've, over the past 8 months or so, we've gotten a lot of concerns. I can tell you it happened to me after a particular weekend update here at Eastern Suffolk BOCES, where I couldn't download our own files. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, why can't I download it? Why am I getting this message that it's unsafe? Because of Ed Law 2D and Part 151 regulations, excuse me. A lot of our tech departments are doing a lot of things in the backgrounds to protect us. And one of them is might very well be preventing you from downloading a template from our website. And I want to show you how to grab that, and then we'll look at the template. Trying to stop any kind of automatic download or pop-up, your school has probably set up a security system. And if you actually right click on, the blue word here is the actual link to that template, you can right click on it, copy the web address, and paste it into a new web browser, and it usually opens. We haven't heard of any problems once someone tried that method. The other possibility, I have that pictured here. And then you'll see this is what it looks like. Copy link address, and then you can drop it in and paste and go. Paste and go. The other option I know which works well, it didn't work in Chrome, but IE. Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know that. So YouTube, watchers of this recording, it works with IE, but it didn't work with Chrome. In that case, I guess I'm going to guess that it would also work with Edge. That's kind of like the newest version of IE. The other option is, and this one is particular, I was on Chrome. And again, like I said, I had to set this up for myself on my computer. In the upper right-hand corner, you can right-click on the image of the padlock. Please note that our website is HTTPS, and that's been the truth since 2015 when I arrived at Eastern Suffolk BOCES. And that just shows a higher level of security. And we've been going to the highest level of the law all along. But for this particular website, when you click on that on the website, you can control what is allowed from that website. I just want to assure you that by telling Chrome allowed pop-ups and redirects or automatic downloads is not a carte blanche approval for every website you go to. You're looking at Eastern Suffolk BOCES alone there. Make sure you see it there. And those two features will allow you to download any of the templates and other items we put up on the website. Okay, let's take a look at that blank template. So it's exactly what we say. And this one actually has 4 worksheets in the Excel workbook. You can find the name of your school and it, automatically shows it for you here. We give you directions and references, information for when you were finished and how to load it into level 0. We added pictures. Please, if you have a new idea, let us know, because we just want to make this easier so that we can save you a phone call, or if you happen to be doing something on a Sunday morning because it's good for you, then we want to make it easy. The next tab is actually the blank template. You get all of the headers, and you get right here, if I had chosen the school name on the last page, the district code and the location code would pop up. None of these numbers in any of these forms that are on our website are PII. On the state website, you can search the DBN, that location code, that 800 institution code and whatnot. We pre-populate, remind you of what the date format needs to be for the school year, and then the rest is for you to fill in. The third worksheet shows you the exact spelling and acceptable responses to each question. I think it's only like a 9-question survey, but it has to be exact and it has to be in caps. Okay, so we put it right there so you can copy it and get that work done quick and easy. The 4th page is the template directions. This comes from the company eScholar, who creates this, who has really built the whole data warehouse really nationwide. And I know they have contracts with Australia too. And so if you are working on the project, reporting the data, you're not sure about something, you can always refer to this page and it'll tell you, for field 2, which would be column 2 or column B, you can see exactly what the requirements are. I want to focus in on the last field of this particular survey, which is number 15. And I've highlighted this because the state actually wrote something, changed their mind, and I think they had to go back to the original. The current STRS manual and that worksheet on our website does say that if you collect the survey in 2 different pieces, you can just put the last day of the month. You don't have to worry about being exact. But then when schools started to do that, level 0 created an error saying that you can't report on a future date. So just pick the day. It could be the day you're doing it, but if that's close to the time that the survey data was collected, if you have the exact day that the survey data was collected, then you should use that. I just want to point that out to you. The STRS manual will probably be updated this week. That's hot off the press from last week's state ed call. ReportNet. Similar to the blank template, we can help you. We have all your student names. We have their ID numbers. This will help you to get a list of everybody so you know what you're working on. When you log into ReportNet, go to team content, look for the district folder, New York City charters, and then extracts. And then you'll find that student extract for digital equity survey. For prompt here, you choose your school, but then you also need to pick a date. So if this is the first time you're doing it for the year, you probably want to find the first day of school. So you're grabbing every student who would need to be reported. Say you've done that and you have to, do this again as students transfer in. You might want to run it again based on whatever, the next day after you do this. If you can jot a note, I did this on December 8th. And then the next time you go look at it, into 22 here, the 2022 school year, you can just reference back and say, okay, I better look from December 9th and onward to see if which students enrolled after that time. In the actual template, we are giving you enrollment information. So I just want to go, run from the top down. Here's the title of the project. We use the exact same color coding here as we do on the blank templates, whereas whenever you see a green header, that's extra information to help you make decisions or to align your data well, right? Everything that's blue is a required field. And then when we have left the text blank, in the general basic, output, that is a blank field. You do not have to report anything there. New to this one, we realized that we can have directions. The list that I showed you, the codes and the exact spellings, that's the way they have to be in the file. Since we can't spit out multiple worksheets when you're doing an extract from ReportNet, we now give you a hyperlink to that list on our website. And then we give you information about how to save the data, to get ready to load it into level 0. So looking at this list, I noticed that I have one kiddo who left my school already, or my pretend school, and they left before we ever conducted the survey. For that kiddo, you can just delete the line. Now, it's also possible that one student would appear twice. Maybe the student rolled over from last year, they left for a period of time and they enrolled someplace else, but they're back at your school now. You will see both lines. And so then you can choose which line to use. You're going to want to probably report the last one, especially if they both ended. I've seen that happen. Otherwise, just make sure you're reporting it on the open record. Manual inputs. This will be very helpful for maybe when you play catch up or after an enrollment and new enrollment, somebody hands you a sheet with that parent's response that day. You can always do this, and when you find errors, I'm going to help you to understand what kind of errors might pop up for this template. This is where you'll go to correct them. So in level 0, if you hover over manual input, you can choose the template. And this is true for all the templates, even the staff templates. And then you have the option on the screen to search for someone, and it would be either a teach ID for a staff person, a student ID for a kiddo, or their last name. To make the search easy, if you're just starting out, maybe you have a small school, you can type in the letter A with an asterisk, and it'll list for you all of the kiddos whose last name starts with A. You can only search last names here. I just want to make that clear. If you just got a new form, you can't quite read the name on the form, but you can see it ends in SON. You could actually do an asterisk SON and find a list of all the kiddos who have a last name that ends with SON. I probably should have thrown the asterisk on there in that directions in case you wanted a screenshot. So that's at the top of the screen, you find your kiddo, and then you come down here and you get the input screen. The beauty of this compared to the templates, hopefully you can do a whole bunch fast, load it all instantaneously, right? In here, you don't have to type any of these. You're just going to go to all these options. You're logged into your school. You will see your school name in here and the DBN. You will have to enter the student ID. So if you don't have a list with student IDs, you're going to jump up here and use the fields to find the kiddo and then put in their responses. Again, add that survey date. Every time you add a record, you need to hit validate and save, and that saves that record. Records are always saved in level 0, whether you've done an electronic import or as soon as you do the validate and save. And then you probably want to go on to the next record. To do that, you're going to hit clear, and you really do have to hit clear, because if you just start retyping and hit validate and save, it will literally change the record that you had on your screen. It's also possible, of course, we know that if a student left and came back, maybe you do need to update services, or you just know that you have a student has different access now. You could hit current student add new. And I think the only field that remains is the student ID, but at least it saved you having to search for it, right? When you find a kiddo, there would be a list. You're going to tap on that, look at that individual student. And when you see their ID there, you can select, click and drag, select that number, and then paste it down below. So you actually don't even have to type in that student ID necessarily at all. Okay, do all the, enter all the stuff, or at least everything that you know. They skipped a question, put in everything that you know, and then validate and save. Okay, L1 data process, and we're going to come back to that individual screen there too. No matter how you get the data in level 0, the data is safe in level 0, but it never transfers to level 1 of our data warehouse. And then once it's in level 1, every week we push it out to the city, they pass it up to Albany, okay? So you definitely want to complete the level 1 data prep process. On your home screen, this is a view of what the home screen looks like, right? You got this kind of like a checkerboard here, how to contact us quick, right? And this is true for all the templates. You'll see the template name. It's blue and underlined. That means that it's a hyperlink. So you could tap on that and it takes you to the report screen. I actually forgot to underline these. When you have numbers in there, they would also be underlined, and you could tap on one. You can say, wait a minute, what error do I have? Just looking down at the header above. Same thing for valid records. On the screen, also moving over to the right, the columns here would have dates for when you last import. If you did electronic import, that might be empty forever, and that's fine. It'll show you the last time you did any update to that data. The next column would show the last time L1 data prep was completed. So you might see that there's no response there because you haven't done your L1 data prep yet. And there's actually the very last column is very narrow. And if it's one letter, a Y, doing it in sign language, for to tell you yes, and it's going to be red, it's going to say you have deleted a record and you haven't done the L1 data prep again. So when you are looking at a template, right, you guys don't load demographic and enrollment. So when you see those red, you have no work to do. But otherwise, when you're looking at level 0 and you see red in the dates over here, it's a cue that you need to lock your data for the L1 data prep. Okay. So the other way I'm going to show you now the report screen. So either by tapping on the title, that's a hyperlink, you could also hover over reports and then choose the template that you want. As soon as every time you open this template, the first thing you get is the import errors. Those are errors that the software identified when you loaded the data. And in this particular instance, there was a partial record. So it's saying, whoa, that's an error. Don't forget, you got to come back and finish this. The other type of errors that the software will do, and that happens when you do this run verification, is the second level are logic errors. Did you report digital access on a student ID and there's no demographic, there's no enrollment for that kiddo at your school? The first thing to consider is, well, maybe I typed the ID wrong, right? We're human. And then I laugh because I do it all the time, and not all the time, but occasionally. And then whether or not, like if the student just enrolled at your school, it's possible that we don't have that data yet. Your enrollment is live in ATS, but we get an update every week on Friday. We load it on a Monday. So if you had a student registered today on Wednesday, December 8th, you won't see that kiddo in level 0 until Monday the 13th. If the kiddo registers on Friday, we'll go back with 3 days, so that would be the 10th, right? That student actually won't be in level 0 until Monday the 20th, because the city preps their data when the team's going to go home today. That day is going to be prepped overnight. They take that file, they give it to us on Friday, and we stand it up on Monday. So, depending on when in the week a student registered, you might not see their name for a while. Once that data gets caught up, and sometimes this happens with Teach IDs, so you go to save something, but we don't know that this person has a brand new Teach account. You don't want to delete the record. Just wait a week and then hit the validate and save again. You can run the verification again, or you can open the individual record and do validate and save. When you're looking at this list of errors, there's a couple of great things on the screen here I want to point out. If you have hundreds of errors, and I know it happens when it comes to student daily attendance with tens of thousands of records, it wouldn't be surprising to have thousands of errors. You can see the distinct message here. And by tapping on that, so let's say you had 500 errors, and then you see one message in the end that says the survey date, like, well, let's say by mistake you put in 12/18 of 2020, right? 2020 did not happen within the 21-22 school year. So it's saying you have a bad date. You had valid data, for the import, you had data in all of the required fields, so it wasn't an import error, but the logic failed later. So if you see something like that, where there's only one error for, tons of cases, go back to your import file, fix it there, and reload it. Or call us, we'll help you. Also on this screen, you can review when you imported data. Hidden under here, we're going to look at some more of that in a bit. When you're looking at any list of students, if you want to see the list of all your students, right here behind where course instructor assignment is a button that says like school district summary. You can see a list of all your kiddos at your school who have a response in there. All of these headers, as you see, are also underlined. You can sort on them. You just have to tap on it. And so if you're looking for a particular ID, get the IDs lined up, 1 to, onwards up, either going forward or in the reverse by tapping it a second time, and it might help you to find what you're looking for. Okay, so let's imagine we're tapping on a kiddo, and we can see that it's just a blank record. We have a couple pieces done. We don't have all the information. The error will stay in level 0 until you clear it. This is a good reminder to help you to decide what parents you might need to follow back up with, right? And you may decide, you're gonna send a piece of paper home, call them, you could finish that survey over the phone if you had to, and then just validate and save to close out that record. The L1 data prep process, and as you can see, we've already looked at 3 areas: manual, the reports, and now L1 data prep. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. The drop-down looks the same. You hover there and you tap on the template that you want to see. And when you get to this page, this is true and it's unique to the student digital resources. This is the only template, brand new this year, where you can lock your data and move all valid records and your errors will stay in level 0. In every other template, whether it's staff snapshot, student daily attendance, every other template, you can't move the data until you fix every error first. This is the only one. And the reason the state did this was because they want as much information as possible as soon as possible, because that information reporting service office needs to collect the data. They're going to be sharing it with other departments, right, at the state, or, I'm not even saying just, I don't even know if it'd be just solely within the state education department. The PEBT funds came from the OTDA, Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, I believe is the A. So again, they want as many records as possible. You will be able to lock this particular template without every error corrected, because the state wants to act on this and have the information as soon as possible. The next couple pieces are true for every L1 data prep process. Let's say you just, you come up here and when you see the information is in a white color, in this particular instance, it's showing me that I've completed that L1 data prep process back on 11/22 at 11:45 a.m. Okay, great. I don't need to lock it again. When you come here for the first time, there'll be no message there. And then you'll do the validate now. It's another level of error check. And then you must create the file. The data sits in level 0. You can lock it in level 0 with all of those errors cleared for other templates, or lock all those valid records for student digital resources. But it's going to sit there in level 0 until you create the file. That literally pushes it to a queue to be loaded into level 1, and then that data automatically flows to the city every week. But we need you to send it out of level 0. If you come to this page, and this is true for any template, and that date is in red, you're going to get a warning that's letting you know that this domain data has been updated since that date, which was the last locking, and you need to lock it now. That's what that red means. You need to lock it now. And this particular date timestamp would be the same that you would see on that dashboard when you log into level 0. On that report section, and this is true for every template, right? You can tap on a template name on the landing page of level 0, and then get to the report menu or hover over reports and choose a template. And you will have a blue box that will give you options to see lots of information, right? You can check your errors. You can find out if you have any students, if you want to see specifically what students have you loaded data for, but they actually have no enrollment. You can review if you loaded data one time, you're like, oh my God, what was that message I had last time? You can go, find it here. A very powerful one that is there's only 2 templates that have this report: missing surveys and missing attendance. Those 2 areas, you can go find out if you've missed something. So that could be powerful. I didn't have any instances of anything missing to show you what it would look like, but you will see it immediately on your screen. The reason that it says filter location, I mean, the software is written for a typical school district, like imagine in Albany with maybe 12 elementary schools, 6 middle schools, and 3 high schools, right? So when they go, they might check it by building. I want to look at this elementary school, then that elementary school, and give the individual lists to some of those buildings to follow up on. So when you log in for your school, you'll see just that. And if you need a list of your students, so you have reports, but you don't have their IDs in ReportNet, I'm going to show you a couple ways to get these lists of your student IDs. In ReportNet, from the home screen, actually, there is a student enrollment. It's actually, as soon as you get to the NYC folder, you'll have access to various verification reports. And verification reports show you the data that's in level 1, cleared level 0 and is in level 1. The extract folder actually has two pieces. The extract folder takes the names and information of your current students and or teachers, depending on the type of report you're writing, and gives you a blank Excel file of that stuff. Even if you have data in your system, but you run that extract, it's probably still going to come out blank, except for the instance of a student daily attendance. It's going to come out blank. It's not going to grab the data to give it back to you. You have to run a verification report to see that. In the extract folder, there's actually a subfolder that says last year's data. So you can grab stuff like, staff snapshot, assignments, and courses from the previous year. Anyway, in the main folder where you can grab, if you need IDs for your students, you can run this at any time. As soon as we get the first data load, and by usually the first week of October, this report is live for you. You can find out students at your school and information about their enrollment, start dates, the codes that were used, what those codes mean. And also you can see the modified date. So that was the last time that we got data from the city when that was run. And you would be able to see your student names and IDs. We use IBM Cogno software, same thing for L2RPT. So if you want to download one of these reports into Excel, you can hover over this play button and tell it to run as Excel. And I just thought two things about this, good news and bad news. I'm going to give you the good news first. You want to run it as the data because that skips any merge cells and like icons, graphics and whatnot to make it easy to work with. But the bad news is I just remembered this being a chart like the cross tab chart. It actually doesn't download to Excel. I'm so sorry. I'm going to talk to my programmer about that one because it bothered me the other day when I discovered it. Okay. Also, you can get a list of students quick and easy in level 0. And this one, I actually went to demographics, but it might be a good idea to go to your enrollment page. And then again, you can actually do this in any template. This blue box with lists below is very, I hope, very familiar to you. And if you tap on the school summary, your charter school name will be here and it'll be underlined. It's a hyperlink. And then you will see the 436 records going down the screen. You can download anything that you have on your screen in level 0 at any time. Just look for this button on the screen. Again, that's even on, when you're just looking at a student list of student daily attendance or their digital resources. So don't panic. The initial due date was this past Monday, and that's fine. The state wanted as much data as possible. And I know they have a lot of data, but I also know they're missing data from multiple schools all over the place. From here to Buffalo, Plattsburgh to the east end of Long Island. So don't panic. They're happy to have a bunch of data. They're working with it, and they're probably going to nudge you soon. I heard that there's a new memo coming on this particular topic. I know that reference to the date to use on the survey is being updated, and they're just going to nudge everyone to get this in as soon as possible so that they can start taking actions to help any school, neighborhood, family around the state to get the help they need so that students have access to devices for any needs of remote learning. So I suggest you do this at your earliest convenience. If you haven't started it yet, you're definitely going to want to find out about maybe getting some answer sheet, questionnaires that can possibly be scanned. And that would get the data in electronic format that you could, then use. I know some schools are creating surveys, and then that puts the data in maybe sheets or some other, electronic format. In that instance, using our ReportNet blank template might be most helpful, just to make sure that you have them in the right order. And maybe if it has student names, you can use that student name field to replace it with student IDs. But think about it if you know your school hasn't started this yet. I'm love to take any questions and answers. I'll give you answers. I'll take answers too. Definitely want to help you wherever I can. And that's really like the everything I wanted to show you. And I'm going to stop the recording here. If you are watching this on YouTube, please give us a call or send us an email. We'll be glad to help you.